Hi, everyone. So with this conversation, we're really looking, thank you. um, we're really looking to explore the magic of the branded brick and mortar experience, which on one hand is ground zero for meeting your customer. It's an opportunity to have full creative control over immersive brand experiences. It's a powerful tool in brand building and also brand scaling. But it also offers a lot of challenges in terms of finances and logistics. So obviously, I'd love to speak about just the commitment to brick and mortar concepts that all three of you have made. Matthew, we'll start with you. So with
Yep.
MALIN+GOETZ, obviously, right out the gate, your brand launched in 2004 with your bootstrap boutique in Chelsea. Why was the store so integral to the launch of the brand?
So from the very beginning, my career had been in retail, and I'd been with Saks and Barney's as a buyer, and with Kiehl's from a sales perspective. And having had the perspective from a retailer, knowing I wanted to be a retailer, it was really important that we were able to tell our own story directly without the constraints of a retailer. And having a store to be able to do that from the get-go set the stage. It was probably one of the best decisions that we've ever made, and I would absolutely do it all over again.
Yeah. Amy, obviously Madison Reed began as an at-home coloring solution in the Prestige channel, and you expanded to professional services with the hair color bars. Was that a concept you had in the very beginning of when you launched the brand, or was it something that evolved over time?
Yeah, so a little known secret is that 50% of women color at home and 50% color in a salon. So it was very clear to us from the beginning that we had to make a fantastic product first, and the at-home business validated that we had a salon quality product with better ingredients. At that time, about 60 shades. And then what happened is, so the direct answer is sort of. What happened was we started to get phone calls from stylists asking if they could buy directly our tubes of color. And once that started to happen, we realized that the quality was salon quality, as we had always said. And I was in a board meeting and said, hey, let's see if we could color people's hair for that other 50% of the market, and opened a pop-up here in New York in the Flatiron, and in 5 weeks, it was completely full. So as an entrepreneur, that's a good thing. You then rinse, repeat, do that again. So today we have opened today our 95th store, so nationwide.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Congratulations. So Marco, with Amouage, the brand launched in 1983, and in the last couple of years, there's really been a huge transformation in how the brand is showing up in the market. When did branded boutiques become a part of the business strategy for you?
So it's right. So we're actually turning 42, and we started our very first boutique 40 years ago, exactly on 1985. So boutiques play a foundational role for us from the very beginning. As a high perfumery house from the Sultanate of Oman, for us it's very important to actually transport our values, and we see that the boutiques are a core element of that. We were at a tipping point about 21, 22, when we actually made a shift, moving the boutiques from a very transactional concept to an experimental concept, and I think it's actually a more immersive or even a transformative concept for our clients. And we took a fairly radical approach. So our new concept store, we developed it in Oman, close to basically our headquarters. And you need to imagine almost the store the size of the stage, and when you would look from the outside, you would hardly see any perfume products. What you would see is actually a big sphere in the middle of the store, almost twice the height of myself, so I'm not the highest person, about twice the height of it. And it's actually designed for our clients to come in and start actually immersing in the brand value, starting to understand what the house is about. And the whole store was actually inspired by the eclipse in the desert of Oman. And as the client is actually coming in, is walking around, more and more products become visible. And then there's a very, very smart guidance system, basically, how you find your olfactive territory and you have your adjacent products in there. We have more than 60 fragrance creations, so it can be actually overwhelming to navigate through that. And that helped us tremendously really bring it forward. So fast forward, the store we opened in '95, we actually refurbished it and opened it again last week. And actually what we made the protagonist of that store is a artificially inspired sculpture of a 7-meter high frankincense tree. So we open up the ceiling and we actually do that as a testament to the frankincense tree, which is a core ingredient of our other ingredients in there. So I think boutiques have been there from the very beginning for us, but I think the concept of the boutique itself and the role of the boutique is very much evolving, and it helped us tremendously. And we more than doubled our business in the last 3 years, and we actually believe that the boutique concept has been a key enabler for that.
And you touched briefly upon, the design elements of the store, which it's how your vision comes to life, right? And so I'm curious to hear from all three of you as well, given the fact that Madison Reed has unified visuals across all its hair color bars. With Amouage and MALIN+GOETZ, there's a localized approach. How do you utilize design to its fullest branding potential? Amy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so as you said, we have consistency in the stores. We are an omni-channel brand. So one of the beautiful parts about that is it should all look the same. One of the challenging parts about that is that it should all look the same. And so we very much took an approach that we were going to ask our guests what were the most important things in the store design. And there were three. They won't be surprising to most of you in the audience. They were somewhat surprising to us. So first of all, most of our stores have 8 to 10 chairs for services, and the front of the store is retail. And that serves a very important factor in a consultation for people, even the ones that color at home, because they want a stylist to look at them to match color. So that is an important factor in the design. But here are the 3 things that women told us. 1, no mirrors. For those of you, and I know maybe some of you color your hair, seeing yourself when you're getting your hair colored is not the most inspiring moment. The reveal is inspiring, but not at the moment, so no mirrors. 2, strong Wi-Fi.
Wow.
And number 3, great playlist. And those were things that we listened to in the design, but the consistency of our manifesto about empowerment, confidence, and the way the stores are designed is absolutely critical. So when you walk in front of one, you know what the brand represents.
Yeah. Matthew, how about you?
Wow, well, our approach is very different from that. We started developing the idea for the brand with design being a cornerstone for everything that we were doing. So the product itself, the packaging, the store, and how it told a story. 21 years ago when we were launching our brand, design wasn't really a part of brands in the way that it is today. Great, fresh, modern design anyways. And so the store itself was the idea of how to take the traditional neighborhood apothecary and make it modern. And Andrew Goetz, my partner of 31 years, came from the design world, and he was able to bring in a group of architects and industrial designers to sort of help us achieve this concept of how to create a modern take on a traditional apothecary and a traditional apothecary brand or bottle. And so from the very beginning, we launched with face, body, hair, 11 products in 2004 in a small little shop. And we wanted to be able to tell the story of skincare from head to toe that was democratized in a way that was high value for what you were getting. And part of that was how design was going to make it really impactful. And so we wanted people to be arrested when they were walking down 7th Avenue on a non-shopping street in the building for which we live because that's what we could afford as a destination, and really stop and look and see it and say, what is this? And we achieved that. The design for the stores has always been about, well, first of all, store location has always been about a place we would live. So we lived in Chelsea. We were the shopkeepers who lived above the shop. Our second store was on the Upper West Side. Andrew grew up on the Upper West Side. Our third store was in Larchmont in Los Angeles, because if we were going to live in Los Angeles, we would live in Larchmont. And they were sort of found for these reasons, and we wanted them to be individualized and unique to those locations, speaking to the brand and telling our story.
Yeah. Marco, how about you? How do you tell the story?
Well, look, I'm very glad Matthew was between Amy and myself, because I think we are most likely the most extreme one. I mean, who's familiar with our 17 boutiques will realize that none of them looks actually the same. They all look very different. And I think the first one is coming from our belief that our clientele actually wants to see different shops when they travel the world. It's very different than hair colorant, where you have different drivers. For our client, it's actually it's a journey around the world and seeing different facets of the brand. And I think very important to understand is we don't see ourselves as fragrance producers, we're seeing ourselves actually as a house of culture. And that's how Amouage was born originally. It was actually born with the intention by the Sultan of Oman to share with the world the culture of perfume making from Oman with the world. So when we are actually invited to open a shop and a boutique in a new country, for us it's very important to find the cultural bond. And maybe I can explain it with an example. We opened in Shanghai a new shop about half a year ago. Oman was always a country which was, open for the world, was traveling and sharing. So there was actually the water version of the Silk Road between Oman, which is at the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula, all the way to China. So we took that as an inspiration. So if you come into our boutique in Shanghai, you're actually walking as if you would be under the water. And you're seeing actually a dhow, a traditional boat, in the ceiling. And that's actually reminiscent to the cultural bond between China and Oman. So for us, it's very important when we are invited that we actually go very deep and find a cultural connection, and with that have a much deeper storytelling as well. We have a small boutique in Soho. We call it the Petit Boutique. It's in a red brick building, basically. You might be asking, how can you link it actually to Oman? It's maybe a little bit around the corner, but it's if you actually grind down the red brick, you have the same soil you're building houses in New York than you have actually in Oman. So it's very similar in that context. And I think this is very important for us, is to find this cultural bond and then actually making the products part of it. But that's the first one. And then what are the similar elements? I think for us it's going a little bit maybe higher level. I mean, Oman is a country which is known for its generosity, for solarity and warmth. And you see those values translated into what we are doing in many aspects of our work, but also in the retail. There's a generosity aspect. We're using real materials, so we're not actually mimicking any materials. There's a generosity basically in the way we are immersing the client. There's solarity. We're playing with light. A lot of our stores have actually video installations, and we have curated video content which we're basically playing there. And then there's an element of warmth. We believe actually that luxury has not to be distant. Luxury has not to be actually from a pedestal. Is actually a very warm and welcoming atmosphere, as is the country and as the House of Amouage.
I wanted to zoom out a little bit and talk about the impact of branded boutiques on the wider ecosystem of each of your companies. How do you manage your branded store footprint in relation to your wholesale partnerships, and also what impact have they had? So Marco, I'll just start with you again. Okay.
Look, we cannot build the stores we're building everywhere around the world. I think that's very clear. So for us, they have a lighthouse function. So if you're going to a country, it's very important to convey our values, and we are doing that through these anchoring projects for us. It's part of an overall ecosystem. I think nobody can actually do either or nowadays. It's really bringing it all together. So we are looking as our monobrand boutiques in the same way as we are looking at our brand.com or the partnerships with our key accounts as well. And it's about finding the right mix. I think overall there are two extremes you can find with us. One is, I think, if you believe we make a strategic inroad in a new country, that would basically where we build then a cultural bridge through one of those flagships, and then of course it gets surrounded by all the other distribution points. And then we have markets where we're very strong, where basically we will have a higher density of our own retail operations and retail boutiques to basically scale up the operation as well.
Yeah, for us, we have a deep belief that we want our hair color to be accessible wherever our guest is. And that has been a belief that we've had since day one. And so we effectively are in 4,700 other doors. So our hair color is on other people's shelves. Our hair color is, we have a big e-commerce business at madisonreed.com and Amazon. And then the 95 stores I talked about. Now, an interesting statistic is that where we have more than 2 stores in any region, all of the things I just mentioned are 25 to 30% more productive. So what I think that proves is brand awareness and building awareness at the top of the funnel means that the accessibility of your product has, in our case, show up everywhere, because hair color is a very high friction point business. And what I mean by that is it's not, the risk of you doing something that you don't want to have happen to your hair is very high. And so the purchase friction point needs efficacy. And efficacy means that people need to make sure that your product is what it says it is. That happens in ratings and reviews and referrals from friends. But when you walk by a store and you see 10 chairs filled with people getting their hair colored and they're walking out looking awesome, then the efficacy is there, same on the shelf of Ulta. So for us, it's really being accessible everywhere. And you know, I think that's a philosophy that we just believe in and will continue to push on.
So we took an approach from the very beginning, and Andrew and I like to be able to describe this as an Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines approach, that we were going to have a freestanding store and a wholesale distribution network around us that included salons, gyms, spas, hotels, boutiques, and department stores. They currently make up 70% of our business, and the other 30% is our owned channels. We have 20 freestanding stores and websites in various countries, of which the United States is the most important. And I would say that the strategy initially, and still mostly today, was how to focus on high volume, high impact consumers in educated urban environments, because that's where we lived and that's what we knew. And we also knew luxury, that was our background. So this meant New York, Los Angeles, London. And in the first 10 years of our business, we had 5 stores in those 3 cities and a wholesale network around them. And in each case, as we kept our wholesale tight and we partnered with our wholesalers in ways that they were a real partner to us, that we weren't over-distributed in some way, we all benefited. It just grew our business. It offered us exposure from a variety of different ways. We were able to tell our story directly in our own stores, service our customers in a way that an apothecary or a chemist would have serviced people in that respect. And at the same time, for accessibility, not dissimilar from what you were saying, somebody could find us at a Barney's or Liberty or someplace else that they found more convenient, even in Amazon today.
Yeah. And obviously funding is such an important part of making your brick and mortar dream a reality. Amy, given the fact that you have a VC background, I'd love to hear how you think investors, brands, just really the beauty ecosystem should maybe be reevaluating those brick and mortar locations as a tool of brand building.
Yeah. So I like to think of our business, and so I'll turn on my VC hat for a second. I like to think of our business because of the nature of the industry that we're in, which is 75% of our revenue is membership. And whether that is on our MadisonReed.com, where somebody is ordering a box on a regular 7-week cadence, or whether that is subscribe and save in Amazon, or in our stores, there are 2 different types of membership. And so when you have 75% of your business that's membership in revenue, here's how I describe, consumer in a world of investors today, you're all going to laugh, hopefully, is not a great word. And it's because there is a misunderstanding, in my opinion, of the fact that people are going to buy things, period. And beauty in particular is one of those categories that's not going to go away and has stayed very healthy. I describe Madison Reed as a SaaS platform with a consumer wrapper. That's VC talk. And what I mean by that is the predictability of our business, the LTV to CAC, the low churn, all these metrics suggest that once we get a customer, we hold on to 70% of those customers at the end of the year. That's a very high number. So what I'm saying is that this notion of transaction is not really true in beauty, where at least in hair color, once you like your hair color, the last thing you want to do is change it. You actually want to stay with the consistency of the brands that you believe in.
Yeah. Matthew, I'd love to delve into pop-ups for a brief second because they've had such an undeniable impact on our industry, but are also, very capital and heavy investments. So how do you weigh in on the permanent retail versus a pop-up investment?
So pop-ups have been, they've helped a lot along the way. Recently, in the past 5 years, especially since COVID, they give an opportunity for you to test a marketplace specifically. And as we've grown and taken investment over the last 10 years, and we've had the opportunity to do that, we've certainly taken advantage of it, and it's been to our benefit. I can't lie about it. We've had some very successful pop-ups in London in particular. When we started our business, we had written a business plan, and I'm just going to say this really quickly. We'd written a business plan for it to be self-funded and to own our business. So there was never an intent to take an investor. We didn't write a business plan with an investor in mind. We self-funded our business for the first 10 years of the business, and it was successful, it was profitable, and we launched with a freestanding store. And to do that, we created a destination in our own building, in our co-op building, with a rent that was, I don't know, it was like $1,200 a month or something on 7th Avenue and 20th Street, but nobody shopped there. So it was an opportunity for us to sort of create this space in a way that we could own it and grow it slowly in a way that we knew we could manage. As time has moved on, and we ended up taking an investor 10 years later, and we had capital to be able to invest in stores, both with freestanding as well as with pop-ups. Stores take on a different mindset, and you're looking for high traffic areas that potentially cost more but bring you that much more to the table. So I think there's a conversation for both self-funding it and doing it on your own, depending on your business model and what you're looking for, or taking capital initially and blowing it out. I think they both have their advantages depending on what you're looking to do and how you're looking to grow your business.
Yeah. And I mean, customer service in either of those formats, is such an important part of the experience, and it really, I think, makes or breaks how someone experiences your brand. Marco, I just wanted to direct this to you because I know Amouage it's a luxury proposition, but there's also, I think, an accessibility and a playfulness and exploration element to it. So how do you cultivate that sense of hospitality, especially as you expand across many more boutiques?
I think it's everyday culture. I think it's starting with the culture we are living every day, and it's starting from the headquarters, basically. And we are very lucky. So in our case, we have actually our own manufacturer just below, basically, all our offices. And we're spending time there. I'm in the production twice a week at least, because I think this is where the magic is happening for us. We are mixing, we're aging, we're filtering, we're chilling. We're doing that all ourselves, and this is, I think, is a very important part. So I think it is about nurturing the culture from the very core, which is about, acting like a big family. And yes, we are growing quite significantly in the last couple of years, but it's very important to keep that personal bond and keep that element alive. So yes, of course, if I'm in New York, I think, of course, I'm visiting Jamal and Chris, basically, who are in Soho and the shop, and basically I check in with them. So it's very important. And I think the boutiques itself, just maybe to close on that, they're a much bigger role than just a distribution platform. And I think you said it as well. I think for us, it's actually threefold. One is, of course, it's the distribution. We see still room to grow there. The second one, for us, it's a communication platform. A lot of our shops have actually an Instagrammable moment. That's how they are designed.
Yeah.
So we have a shop in the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, which is becoming a big moment to share, and that's driving us. So we're treating it not only as a distribution point, but also as a communication element. And that allow us then a little bit longer to stretch the break-even point we need to reach for the shop itself, but we have that in mind, of course. And then the third one, it's the sensing. I mean, we know best when we launch a new creation into our universe, we will see how the reaction is basically from our advisors on the floor.
Just a quick fire round, if I could have one key takeaway from each of you in regards to how we're going to see the role of branded retail evolve in the future. Matthew, I'll start with you.
I continue to think that retail freestanding stores is a really important aspect of growing our brands and our businesses. They do work, in my opinion, hand in hand with other retail, omni-channel, et cetera, but I don't think you can ever replace the opportunity for brand building and communication, as you were just saying, if you don't have your own space to be able to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's everything. Your brand, if you are an online business, no one gets to understand your culture, who you really are, how the company operates, what does the brand stand for. It's just a screen or just an app. When somebody walks into your store, that is where the rubber meets the road. Yeah. That is everything about your brand coming to life. And it's super, in my opinion, I think it's going to become more and more important as we become a world that has a lot of brands and there's a lot of noise. You have to rise above that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think all of the before and the only add I would have, it's almost becoming hospitality location. And I think we heard that in the morning in the opening where boundaries are blurring as well, and that's what it is, and that's what we are trying with our boutiques. We're trying to actually transport our clients maybe for a moment, maybe for a second, maybe for a little bit longer to a different place, and hopefully to a better place than there is outside, maybe.
Yeah, beautiful note to end on. So yeah, I think we have time for a question or two from the audience, if anyone would like to. Yeah, I see one over here, one over there.
This thing on? Okay. My question is for Marco. Hi, Taylor. Big fan of Amouage, Opus 13. If you don't know it, it's one of the best patchouli ouds out there. How do you maintain or elevate the brand's position and how it changes as the times change with consumer behavior and overall cultural changes?
Well, thank you for being a fan of Opus 13. It's a beautiful creation, I agree. Look, I think it is starting, and we transformed the house in the last 5 to 6 years quite substantially. I think if you compare Amouage 10 years ago now it has changed. And I think what is the constant though is as we are transforming ourselves, we are actually going deeper to our roots. I think we have never been a more Omani brand, although I think we are much more internationally appealing is not the right word, but we are much more, open for other clients to join it. And that's, I think, maybe the lesson we had. It's really understanding your DNA and double down on your DNA, and that does not actually limit you at all. I mean, we have more than 1,000 distribution points around the world. We're in 100 countries available right now, but I think we are more than ever very connected with where we are coming from, and we are making that through the cultural bridges relevant in the different countries where we're distributing. And maybe the last point, I think, is if you have strong values, you also act as an ambassador. It's in our mission statement, actually. Our mission statement has 3 parts, and I think everybody is living it. I think the first one is we really want to help our clientele to stand out and underline their personality. Our fragrances are very potent, so they're very strong. So it's for somebody who really wants to underline that. The second one is pushing the boundaries. I think we brought back aging to the category. We are aging some of our products for 6 months. Almost nobody else is doing that. We are actually aging, and we do double infusion now. We are infusing fragrances that was gone for a long time. Third mission statement is, I think, to a certain extent, we're an ambassador for the country of Oman. I think we are benefiting from being embedded in such a beautiful country, which gives us a lot of creative inspiration. And I think it's our role as well to give back to the country where we're in and showcasing the beauty of the country around the world.
Okay. 40 years strong. Thank you so much, and thank you, panel.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Alfonsina, and I love hearing this because for someone who's been in the retail industry for close to 30 years, this is a very passionate conversation for me. You mentioned, Amy, about culture. What is your priorities or your pillars on company culture and how to keep your teams engaged and ensure that they're giving the most exceptional service to your clients as they're coming in the door? As we know in retail today, we have to continue to stay relevant and ahead of the curve. And company culture is a pretty critical piece of that.
Yeah, thanks for the insightful question. So we have a very, very defined and strong culture at Madison Reed. And I have a deep belief that your team's experience translates into your guest's experience. So anyone that believes that if their team's unhappy that your guests are going to be thrilled, no. And so, a little bit about our workforce. So in our stores, we employ, these are team members employed by Madison Reed, and they are licensed certified cosmetologists. They go to cosmetology school. For most of you, you probably don't know, you come out of cosmetology school $25,000 in debt, and the average stylist in the US is making less than $50,000. This is not the stylist that you may see in New York City, but this is the person in various places who is trying to pay their bills, many single moms, many people of color, and our mantra in the company is the things that make us different make us. So we are very focused on meeting our team members where they are. We pay their benefits. We pay 2 to 3x what they ever make anywhere else. We have extensive training. This isn't just about what a woman or some men come, when they leave, what they look like. It's actually what they feel. And so, you know, it's a very big part of our business. And, you know, we invest a lot in cultural values, teamwork, and what we learn very quickly is the stores that are incredibly successful are the stores where there is a strong general manager who gets the cultural values, believes in them, treats the store like